It started out just a friendly ride, raise a little dough and have some fun. But over time, it's evolved, and we've raised almost $5 million.
It's a fantastic event. It starts at Sawyer Point, goes across the bridge into Newport, and then goes east on Route 8, a beautiful route along the river. And people can go as far as they want. They can go 5 miles, they can go 10 miles, they can go 50 miles, turn around, come back for 100 miles. And so it's a tremendous day.
100% of the money goes to cancer research, but doesn't all go to the Barrett Cancer Center, because we want this to be a community-wide ride who are people riding for cancer research, and it's working.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Hello everyone, I'm Curtis Fuller and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. Our health has been front and center in the news because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But today, I want to talk about one of the leading causes of death, and that's cancer. According to the CDC, cancer is second only to heart disease in the number of deaths here in the United States. I want you to consider this. The American Cancer Society estimates there will be 1.9 million new cases of cancer diagnosed this year, and at least 608,000 cancer deaths here in the U.S. 73,000 new cases in Ohio, which is more than Indiana and Kentucky combined. There's one event here in Greater Cincinnati that has raised millions of dollars for cancer research and care. It's called Ride Cincinnati. That event takes place this year, the weekend of September 17th in downtown Cincinnati. One person who is a leading supporter of this project is the president and CEO of Western and Southern, John Barrett. As you will see, the battle against cancer is very personal to him.
United Against Cancer, Ride Cincinnati.
Well, Curtis, we've been involved with RIDE since the very beginning, which I think goes back to 2007, when Dr. Harvey Harris had lost his wife, and he approached my brother Bill, who's one of the guys at the Barrett Cancer Center, and he said, we'd like to do something nice, and we'd like to support breast cancer research. So basically that's how it started. And it started out just a friendly ride, raise a little dough and have some fun. But over time, it's evolved, and we've raised almost $5 million. And 2 years ago, when we were able to do it, really the last big time we could do it, if you were part of St. E's or part of Good Sam or one of the other hospitals, you could say, I'd like to have the money that I raise go to their cancer research. 100% of the money goes to cancer research, but doesn't all go to the Barrett Cancer Center, because we want this to be a community-wide ride who are people riding for cancer research, and it's working.
Explain the importance of the Barrett Cancer Center to you and your family.
It's huge. It was started by my father 32 or 3 years ago, and he was suffering from cancer. He was a cancer doctor from his early 30s, and he was going by cancer. He had prostate cancer, and he died actually at 76, which is way too young. But his friends at UC said, we've got to get this going for Charlie. And he was able to successfully raise the money from both Governor Rhodes, who's a Republican, and Governor Celeste, who's a Democrat. And then we picked up the deal after my father passed. And at Western Southern, we've contributed an awful lot of money, and we've either given or been responsible for about $70 million coming to or pledged to the cancer program over there. And it's our goal, and we're going to get it done, that we get NCI designation. That's National Cancer Institute. There's 70-something in the country, and we're the largest city in the United States that does not have an NCI designated center. And they have to be with academic institutions. It cannot be just a great cancer center. Like the Cleveland Clinic does not have NCI designation, although it's a great cancer center, because you've got to have academic credentials as well. And so we'd like to get that done in the not too distant future, like 3 or 4 years, something like that. And the other good news is Bill and his colleagues have recruited a world-class hem-onc oncologist and he's going to be the new head of the Department of Medicine. He just signed on, Dr. Jonathan Bird, and John's from the James in Columbus. And so he's coming down here to be our top internist, and hem-onc oncology is his specialty. So we've got so many different specialties at world-class caliber. This brings in the one that we didn't.
I would imagine you receive letters from time to time from people who might participate in the ride, have benefited from research at the Cancer Center. If there is one or two that come to mind, tell me about that.
Well, Curtis, I frequently hear from people who have benefited from the cancer work that's been done at UC and basically on them. They are ecstatic by the treatment, and the program at UC, the plan is you never have to leave Cincinnati to get world-class treatment. So there's another thing that's going on at the same time. My brother Bill, about 5 years ago, started something called Cincinnati Cancer Advisors. I think we're the only place you can go to get a cancer diagnosis for free. And we've got 5 top-notch people, and they give, it's over in Norwood, and they give a 2-hour time spot. What you do is you come in with your own records, your own tests and everything, and they'll go over them with you, and they will make a recommendation to you and to your physician. They do not take the case. They just recommend their best thinking on what would be best for you in this case. And so the oncologists around town have found it very beneficial, and the patients have found it very beneficial, because everyone is worried when you get the diagnosis, the 3 worst words you could ever hear. So you've got somebody looking out for you for free. That's the big thing.
By the way, John Barrett's wife is also a cancer survivor. You know, last year, Ride Cincinnati was a virtual event because of the pandemic, but still raised about $250,000. The ride has 4 route options available to cyclists from 15 to 100 miles. Up next, inside the Barrett Cancer Center, and a conversation with a leading doctor about his tireless fight against cancer in our region, when Let's Talk Cincy continues. Research is a valuable tool in the fight against cancer. That is why the money raised from events like Ride Cincinnati is so critical. Dr. William Barrett is the director of the University of Cincinnati Cancer Institute and medical director of the Barrett Cancer Center.
Do what you do.
Ride Cincinnati has been tremendously helpful over the years, initially exclusively funding projects around breast cancer. In the last couple of years, also other cancers as well. Cancer, as you know, is a very, very common disease. 1 in every 3 women, 1 in every 2 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer during their lifetime. About 11,000 people are diagnosed with some type of cancer in the greater Cincinnati region per year. And our goal at the Cancer Center here is to do everything we possibly can to reduce the suffering and mortality associated with this disease. This atmosphere where everybody's getting smarter every day around here. So it's a tremendous atmosphere. And so what we want is for nobody to have to face this diagnosis, but if you do, we want Cincinnati to be the very best place in the world to be. Whether you're treated here or whether you're treated anyplace else in this community, we want the university to have a leadership role in trying to raise level of cancer care throughout the whole region. We've really tried to emphasize that even though it's a hyper-competitive world out there with 5 local health systems, 6 if you count children's, when it comes to disease cancer, we try to emphasize the competition is not each other. The competition is the disease cancer. You know, in terms of screening in general, and you know, our goal is to have outstanding cancer prevention, diagnosis, care, and recovery for everybody in this entire community. And one of our goals is to approximately a year from now open an absolute world-class cancer detection clinic. And this idea is by no means new. We have posters downstairs of newspaper articles from 1928 talking about cancer screening clinics. So the idea has been around for a long time. We're constantly trying to think of ways that we can improve cancer care and prevention, detection in our community. And there are a lot of things that can be helpful. Recruiting top flight personnel is important, and there's been a lot of that. Having great facilities, procuring really top flight technology are all really important things. But something that occurred to me several years ago was that one way of potentially rapidly elevating the level of cancer care in this region would be to have a completely objective second opinion from somebody who's not going to assume your care. So people get second opinions commonly, and people often will go out of town, and it's expensive, it's inconvenient, the quality is quite variable. The communication back with the local physicians often is not very good. If somebody goes for multiple second opinions, they typically don't talk to each other, so there's not coordination between those different second opinions. And particularly important is that often if somebody goes for a second opinion, wherever they go, that person or that entity is going to try to recruit them as a patient, because frankly, the revenue is in treating patients. If not treating, at least diagnostic imaging and such. And so what we wanted to do was to establish something that was the opposite of all that. So something that would be local, convenient, no charge. So it absolutely addresses any issue relative to disparities. Anybody, regardless of economic background, can walk right in and have their second opinion. Our tagline for this is that great care begins with a great plan. And so it's an altruistic attempt to raise the level of cancer care throughout the whole region. And so I think it's not been done anyplace else in the country, and I think that it's off to a really good start.
Well, it sure is. Since its inception, RIDE Cincinnati has raised enough money for dozens of research grants for cancer pilot projects. Up next, Lacey Roberts has the story of some local students taking on the cause and riding this year in memory of a friend.
Welcome back. I'm Lacey Roberts. As you've heard, one of the goals of RIDE Cincinnati is to bring together a community of riders who want to make a commitment to defeat cancer. One UC fraternity is entering the ride for the first time for a very special reason. They're riding in memory of a friend who died from cancer this year.
Sigma Alpha Epsilon is one of many Greek chapters on the University of Cincinnati campus, and we are proud to be one of the largest and most storied chapters. We take pride in everything that we do, from our support to the University of Cincinnati to various community service organizations throughout the Cincinnati area. I had the privilege of serving as the president during 2020. Obviously a very difficult year with COVID and a lack of in-person events. We made it out on the other side, I think, stronger and better as a chapter as a whole.
You guys are really big on community service, getting involved. Why now getting involved in RIDE Cincinnati is so important for you guys?
This originally came about when Allison Gordon, co-founder of RIDE Cincinnati, reached out to us on behalf of John Barrett. We're proud to call him an alumni of our chapter, and he has given us so much of his time, treasure, and talent back to the chapter. So we were very thrilled to participate on his behalf. We tragically lost a brother named Mitch Stone in January of this year from complications of childhood leukemia. We were heartbroken as a chapter because he meant so much to us, but it's very cool to see that we're going to be able to benefit people who have been affected by cancer like him as a chapter.
Mitch was diagnosed with cancer at a young age and was undergoing chemotherapy, and through all those treatments, the UC football team kind of adopted him and took him in, and he was able to meet a bunch of the players and hang out on the field with them and meet the coaches and players and get some gear and really have a relationship with the football team, which meant a lot to him. And I think that that energy and passion for UC football and dedication to the university as well really stuck with him, because he was always trying to get brothers to go with him to any of the basketball games, walk over to the football game with him, and he was definitely a very big UC fan, and that was clear. Mitch was a really awesome guy and a good friend. He really exemplified all the values that our chapter stands for. He was always present, no matter what we had going on, whether it was a brotherhood event, a social, or a community service. He was always there.
So in the house, you guys are keeping his memory alive. Tell me about that and what it means to walk past that every day.
We just had a plaque put up that has a picture of Mitch, and then also like plaques on either side that talk about who he was and who he was as a brother and a friend, and just what a great person he was, and what a great addition to chapter, and how much he meant to all of us. And next to the picture of Mitch, there's a congressional record from Brad Wenstrup basically recognizing Mitch and all of his work that he's done and just his life, and what a great person he really was. He was a very cheerful guy, and he wasn't the loudest guy in chapter, but he had a sense of humor, and every once in a while, like in chapter or in our group message, he would just send like the funniest joke or message, and everyone would die laughing. And so he really had this sense of humor, and he lived in the house, so he was always around, and he was a good friend. You would run into him in the kitchen, and he'd be asking you about your co-op or your classes and how things were going. And it wasn't just him making small talk. He genuinely cared. And that was clear, and he was there for all the right reasons. He would be all about it. He would definitely be riding, and this is right up his alley. He loved these kind of events, helping plan them and then rallying people to join, and you could just tell he enjoyed giving back, and I think he felt like that was like a great way to spend your time.
An update now on a Cincinnati school teacher who is using his love of cycling to promote health and wellness. Mike Finnegan is a former Withrow High School fitness instructor who retired at the end of last school year. This summer, he embarked on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to give back to students. Finnegan biked across the United States to raise money to promote health and wellness and raise money for a scholarship fund.
We started back. We dipped the back tire in the Pacific Ocean in Santa Monica on the 12th of June, and 32 days of riding later, we ended up in Washington, D.C., dipping the front tire into the Potomac River, and stopping at Peace Corps headquarters, stopping at the Niger Embassy, which was my first job in the Peace Corps in 1985, and then making a stop at the White House. We didn't get in to see the Bidens. We tried to make that happen, but we did get our photo op out front, and it was an epic journey. It was an epic journey that took a lot of teamwork. I had 2 crew members, and I had another crew member who we call Command Central, located in Mesa, Arizona, that was doing all of the scheduling of our hotels, and it was really amazing. It was an amazing journey. And we raised a lot of money. We raised about $50,000 for the Mike Finnegan Health and Wellness Scholarship. So that was really the purpose of the entire journey. That's been my life mission, and I think the fact that my students saw me doing this trip, and they were following me, and they're all on social media, so they're following me on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and I got a lot of messages from a lot of former students that were very inspired by what I was doing, and I really wanted to touch those young people, those people that that was my whole life, was to try to instill that into the young kids. And I see a lot of those students who are now branching off, and they've become personal trainers and massage therapists, and they're always reaching out to me for advice, for nutritional advice and exercise advice, and so yeah, absolutely.
If you would like to donate to Finnegan's Scholarship, you can do so by contacting the Cincinnati Scholarship Foundation. Next, what is the impact COVID-19 is having on cancer care? Well, Let's Talk Cincy returns.
We want to hear from you. Email us your ideas at ltc@wlwt.com. And remember, you can always watch full episodes or get more information on wlwt.com/Let's Talk Cincy. You can also listen to Let's Talk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. This pandemic is the biggest health challenge we've faced in a century. Health experts say while COVID-19 has not pushed the battle against cancer totally into the background, there has been an impact. I recently spoke with Renee Mahaffey-Harris with the Center for Closing the Health Gap here in Greater Cincinnati.
When the country shut down and people weren't going to the doctor for their annual exams, therefore not getting their annual screenings. Screening is the best means of early prevention and detection. Earlier detection helps improve the mortality outcome, right? And so my concern now, though, is that if people don't feel comfortable going to a doctor's office, then they're potentially not getting that regular annual checkup, those regular screenings. And, you know, what's always alarmed me in the conversation on health disparities is when I see the incidence of cancer, both breast cancer, colorectal cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, and see that, you know, Black men and women may not represent the highest incidence, but represent the highest mortality. And oftentimes that's because of late diagnosis.
Even in 2021, when we've told people to go get checked early on.
You know, even, you know, in the last year, I was reached out to by a provider, and they wanted to potentially work with us around increasing awareness of screening, specifically in cervical and colorectal cancer, because of, you know, the trend line showing that those specific cancers were increasing within the Black community. I think right now we're all concerned about, you know, the Delta variant. We're concerned about making sure people wear a mask, that our kids are protected, and that people get vaccinated, or people get their questions answered that may be causing them to have hesitation or concern around the vaccine, and getting people good information. I think that same issue bodes with cancer, right? Is that getting good information and understanding this high percentage of incidence rates for Black people and Black men and Black women, be it from breast cancer, be it prostate cancer, be it, you know, that we have to know the information so that we can take the preventative action and that we can protect each other.
Know the information. You know, the one thing you will learn from listening to these experts is that first, we have a lot of resources here in our community available to you. And you have to take advantage of those resources and also the information that is out there for all of us. Well, that does it for this edition of Let's Talk Cincy. I'm Curtis Fuller. Have a nice day.